What's going on, Military Cashflow family? Today's a good day, man. It's decently a little bit overcast outside. We're gonna do some great stuff with the family, and really looking forward to today. And we had a good conversation as well. What's up with you, Mike?
I'm relaxing, man. Today's guest is actually here in town. He's actually a good friend of mine. We recorded this morning. Later on, we're going to kind of kick it. And the weather is actually nice here today as well in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's got some sun. It's not raining anymore. So we're going to try to get out as well. Things are going well, man. Things are going well.
What's up with the mortgage loan officer? Give us some little updates on that. Remind the people.
Man. So for those who don't know, the Five Pillars team is still operating, and we've expanded nationwide. So we're bringing on agents all across the nation. And with that, what we found was that gap in financing. So I partnered up with MC Mortgage Group as a mortgage loan originator. So I primarily work with the LLC financing, but I could absolutely do, the VAs, the FHAs, and so forth and so on in North and South Carolina area, or at least I can connect you to another loan officer in another state, right? But it's been going well, man. We're cranking out some deals. First month out the chute, I got about 7 or 8 loans in the pipeline right now. My goal is to get to 15. First month in, that's my goal. We're going to go for it. We'll see. But yeah, man, it's been going well. Been enjoying it.
So you heard it here, man. If you are in need of a loan, if you're in need of some money financing, right, for your first real estate transaction, especially if it's in like a true investment, right, definitely hit us up, link up with Mike, and he'll get you straight. And then also, if you're looking for just a regular, could be VA, could be FHA, whatever loan in the Carolinas, make sure you hit up Mike. I can easily do a video for it. I'm literally going through the process right now. Got well over a point off of my interest rate, and it's going to be saving me a couple $100 a month just by linking up with Mike and using his services. So I recommend that you do the same thing. If you got some equity in your home, you're looking to refi, maybe cash out refi or something like that. I got the appraisal coming up, I think in a couple of weeks, maybe, or maybe a week or so. So I'm pretty excited about the process. I'm actually refinancing both of my quads, and collectively, I should be saving myself about $350 a month or so between the both of them. So I mean, that's instant cash flow, dude, just by doing a quick refi, and it's just awesome. That's one of the powers of real estate. You can manipulate it how you want to. I could take out some cash if I needed to, or just leave it alone. So it's pretty good stuff. But today's guest, Alex Felice. Alex Felice. He's been around, man. He's got a great real estate story. He was in the military, got out after his first enlistment, and then he's been just kind of found his way around life and kind of did some things for a few years, and then kind of got in the finance world and then jumped into real estate, and now he's just crushing it in the real estate world, taking very, very deliberate action. I don't want to say slow, but definitely taking very, very deliberate action in what he's doing. So we talked a lot about I guess like the mental aspect of real estate, and then also networking, right? How you, if you're trying to get in certain circles, right, what are some of the actions that you can take to operate in those circles, if you like to, Mike?
Yeah, he's an amazing guy. Many people don't understand the importance of networking at that level, right? And so this is something that he's been good with his entire life. And he's going to talk about his journey from that military aspect and kind of, how it helped him move on in the world. But this is a superpower that he had, the networking aspect, that he truly didn't discover until he was well into his adulthood, right? And he talks about, many people don't know this, when Fayetteville, North Carolina blew up as a real estate investment hub, a lot of it had to do with his original podcast on Bigger Pockets, right? Because as soon as that name dropped, we were operating as agents in that area and as investors. Boom, market flooded. Everybody was there, right? So just something as simple as that was able to provide value so much to people like us and other investors and things of that nature. That's foot in the door, right? So think about doing that on another level, on a scale of that ability. That is what you guys should be striving for as you're trying to get into these groups. So, I mean, there's so much value here, guys, and I'm not gonna do it justice here in the intro. So, without further ado, let's get to it.
What's going on, Military Cashflow family? Today we got Alex Felice on today, and we're gonna dig into his story, man. We've been running in similar circles, and we kind of talked a little bit offline, and it's good to formally meet you, man. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are, and what you're doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I am a single and multifamily real estate investor in North Carolina, Fayetteville, North Carolina. I started buying single family homes in, call it 2016, around there. Figured it out, buying a couple, figured out that I could do it. Started buying, I bought a small apartment. After a couple of years of that and doing well, I bought a small apartment in 2019, and then bought a fairly good sized apartment here in 2020. And then around 2020, I started flipping houses too. So yeah, real estate life, bro. It's been very good to me. And we're growing from there. So very excited to be here. Thankful for the opportunity.
Dude, that's awesome,
Absolutely.
man. So seems like you dipped and dabbled in a little bit of everything there, right? Like real estate is what you're doing full time right now, right?
I do it full time right now. Yeah.
Excellent,
Yeah.
dude. So let's
I
talk
should
about
be doing a lot better at it, to be honest.
I think that's pretty much what seems like a common, I guess, a common denominator in everybody's story. They're like, yeah, if I could start over again, or if I knew what I knew now and I'd start, I'd be a lot larger or something like that. You know what I mean? I'd be in a much better place.
Yeah, it's always hindsight's 2020. It's very easy to look back and be like, this is what I should have done when I knew how the world would unfold. Yeah,
man, definitely. So let's get into the beginning, man. What is your journey with real estate, or your journey with money? Actually, first, let's talk about like military background, right? Because I know you did serve in the military for a short period of time, and then let's talk about that transition out of the military into real estate. How did that work?
It worked badly. I got out of the Army, dude. I did okay in the Army. I didn't get in trouble, but I also, I got out after 4 years as an E4. I didn't, wasn't excel, but also, Mike knows me pretty well. Like, I'm just not big on organized rule following in general. So I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to go find my own way. So I got out an average soldier. I didn't really have much skills when I got out. So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, And so I ended up in sales, car sales, just kind of ended up there. Wasn't really a choice. I got bills, right? And so I floundered with that. I did okay in it, but it's a job. So I did that for quite a while, and then kind of just bounced around jobs, went out to Arizona and got a associate's degree in business. And I learned how to build some houses with my uncle. So that was kind of my background with houses. I was like, oh, I know how these things get put together now. And then came back to North Carolina, was selling cars again. And then around 2010, so yeah, I screwed around for about 5 or 6 years, just tinkering with the world. And then around 2010, I got serious. I went and got a degree in finance, and I started working in banking. And that's when I started to put some money together. And I was like, okay, I need to learn how to invest. I don't want to work jobs, W-2 jobs forever. I want to do something else. I don't know what that is, but I don't have the time freedom or the money freedom to go find out what I like about the world. I'm always doing something that I have to do right now to pay the next bill. And so I was like, I'm over that life. So I should learn how to invest. Well, 2014, turns out real estate, there's foreclosures flooding the market, right? It's not like that anymore, but you could go to the MLS and find deals for 25 grand all day long. I didn't have enough money and to really capitalize on the opportunity back then, but I got one. And then a year later, I was like, this makes money. We bought one for like 50 grand, damn near tripled our money in 2 years. And then bought another one and bought 2-3 more, and then bought 2-3 more. And then, so that's really what happened. I screwed around, and then I stumbled into real estate at like the best possible time. And now real estate's a little tough. So I'm kind of
it's aggressive
for the next opportunity.
So I don't think I've ever asked you this, man. You mentioned how you were in the military just for a slight period of time, and then you rolled out and you did your thing, and you said you were just average. But was there anything about the military that you actually took and you still have with you? Is there anything that you were taught, characteristic trait, or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. The Army was actually very good for me. If you had met me before the Army, you'd notice like, oh yeah, that thing changed him. Because here's the thing. The Army gave me confidence in myself. It taught me how to self-preserve, how to rely, like how to be self-sufficient. It taught me how to approach things that are scary with both a little bit of respect, right? Hey, that thing can blow up, be careful, but also it's going to blow up in a controlled manner. And so you just need to behave the right way. So those all soft skills or those life lessons really carry forward. People are afraid of everything, it seems like. And, that's a fear is not a good emotion to drive decisions. So the Army taught me how to like, hey, look, you can be afraid, but just, keep a straight face, tighten up, like think about it, slow it down. So the Army I did 4 years, but before the Army, I was a slacker. I was a punk kid with a chip on his shoulder. Still, that came back, but that part came back. But, the Army tightened me up, gave me a lot of confidence, and you need confidence in this game. If you're going to go off and you're going to buy a house with cash and you're going to flip it, and then you're not going to get that money back for 6 to 8 months, or, you're going to buy these big deals. I bought a $3 million building last year. Like, you have to have some composure in the face of these things that are scary. And so the Army gives you such good skills. So I don't want to take anything away from the Army. I did 4 years. I had my gripes with it. And a lot of it is what unit you get into. You guys know this, right? You get into one unit, you're like, I love this, I'll stay in for 20. You get another unit, you're like, I have to get out of here as soon as possible. And I had a little of that. And after 4 years, I'm like, do I want to gamble with another 4 years? So I was just like, nah, I'm going to go figure out my own path in life. Now, that's all it is. The Army did very good for me. Nothing bad about it.
Yeah, that's always to each their own. I mean, the military for some is the worst time in the world. For others, it's the best time in the world. But I'm always curious to see what people kind of take with it. And I actually never heard it stated that way. Learn how to essentially face fear and understand that although there is risk, it's controlled risk. And I think that's fucking ingenious, right? If we can all take that concept with us throughout life and understand that risk mitigations, when done properly, can control that explosion, and we won't necessarily, we might get hurt, right? But we may not, lose our life for that. So that's good stuff, man.
Yeah. It turns out I went later. I spent the next 10 years in risk management, risk analysis for lending. And so, I have a saying, risk is always to be managed, but never feared. Right. And it's that same principle where you're like, there is risk and you're going to take some risk, but you have to take it like, with a straight face. You have to think about it. You have to understand what you're doing. Jumping to the airplanes, I hated it.
Oh, I hated it every single jump. Yeah.
You what?
I hated every single jump I've done. I've done over 50. Every time I'm like, oh shit. Oh.
I think I only did 16 jumps, but I was like, at 16 times I was praying that the wind would be too bad and they cancel my stick. And but it's one of those things where it's like, I'm terrified of heights. And that's why I signed up. And then I hated it. And that's why I kept doing it. And that's like just such a lesson that people don't get out of the military, where you're like, I don't like loud noises. It's like, well, then you're not going to go to the firing range. But if you don't like loud noises and then you join the Army, it's like, you're about to get used to this. Right. So it kind of gets you that exposure to things that are fearful. And then when you go in the Army and you see, you jump out of airplanes and you're shooting guns and you're blowing stuff up and you're going to, countries where there's violence and you do all these things. Then you come home and you're like, buying a house is scary. I'm like, no, buying a house is not scary. It's got some risk to it, but this is a different type of fear. So now it kind of makes you fearless towards things. It's like, as long as there's no bullets flying, I have no worries.
Yeah, I think that's super important. Just being able to deliberately face your fears, right? And then move that to something else, that translates over to everything in life, right? I think that's important. I also think it's important. You mentioned, you kind of glazed over a little bit. You're like, hey, I kind of messed around for like 5 years trying to figure out what I do. Man, I think that is extremely important, that time right there, because you get to dip and dive into different things. I dropped out of school for 2 years and like basically kind of did the same thing, try to find myself and figure out what I want to do too. My question to you is, did that period really help you identify what you wanted to do and kind of put you on the trajectory you're on right now? Or was it more like you just kind of fell into the finance from there? Was there like a defining moment within that 5-year period that really helped move you?
You know what? Actually, I'm going to say no. What I'm going to say is there are some moments where there's lessons I've learned, because I think if you're not going through life and like, if you're going through periods of your life where you're like, I didn't learn anything, that's a hard that's a hard time. You should take something, right? So I learned a lot about what I don't want to do, at least not permanently. Those dabbling 5 years, they taught me how to sell. And everybody should be in sales for a couple of years because it's an incredibly valuable skill. So they taught me how to sell. I got into business, and that's when I learned I like analytics. I like doing finance analytics. So there are moments in there that I took away. I learned a lot more about what I don't want to do, which I think is at least as valuable to knowing like what you think you want to do is good. But once you start doing a lot in the world, you dabble, like you said, and then you find out, okay, I don't want to do those things. That's equally as helpful. So there's a lot of people who have wasted a lot less time than me. And that's just the nature of how the world shakes. But it's just, it is what it is. You go through those years and you're like, okay, I did learn some stuff and I took the most I could out of that. But I think overall, yeah, I wish I didn't wait. I wish I'd probably taken that 5 years. And if that had been 1 year, I'd be in a lot better shape. But that's the way the world is. You can change the future. You can't change the past.
You're talking about being in a lot better shape and stuff. You're like, hey, I just bought a $3 million building. Come on now. But that's awesome. I guess it kind of speaks to, I guess I don't want to say determination, but like your thoughts about where you should be at, or your drive. I guess that's really the thing there. Like, kind of speaks to your drive. Like, man, I wish I was a little further ahead, or like there's something that's driving you to push a little bit harder to reach a specific goal, right?
Yeah, well, time is the most valuable asset an investor has. Like Warren Buffett makes 22% per year. And if he had been investing from the time he was 30 to the time he was 60, it's something like he'd be worth $1 million. But he's been investing since he was 15 and now he's 90. So now he's worth 86 billion. And the difference is not the return. The difference is the amount of years in compounding. And so 5 years wasted or 5 years not investing, that's at the end of my life, that's going to be millions.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, go ahead.
I just mean, like, I think about those things. Like, I'm not beating myself up about it, but I 100% hold myself accountable for that. That way I make sure I don't do that again.
I think that's extremely important for everybody to kind of rewind that and just listen to it again. It's the time that's the most valuable. It's the compounding of it. It's the starting early and finishing late in the game, but also understanding, because we had a conversation about this last night, that success, if you will, is relative. Right? Growth is relative. So although, as Dan mentioned, you just bought a $3 million apartment complex. To a lot of people, that is something that they, can't even fathom accomplishing in their lifetime. And to you, that's just one more step. That's just one more step in that journey. So the message is everybody needs to understand how to be comfortable, how to be comfortable within their realm, understand what it is that they really want, and then understand that, if you're ready for it, start now, because those 5 years are very, very, very valuable.
Yeah, time is really, you don't have to be that good at business. You really don't, right?
Gotta stick to it.
If you can do it for 150 years, you're gonna do very well.
Another good example of that is the military. Think about this, guys. How do we get promoted in the military? It's typically time in grade and time in service. And we'll see people in positions that they should not be in. But you know what? They stuck out for those extra 5 years, guys. So if that helps you fucking connect the dots, it's the same thing.
Oh, man. Oh, that's a true thought. That was actually, I like that one. I like that one a lot. Yeah, man. So, all right. So you messed around for a little bit, 5 years. You figured out what you did not want to do. And then you got on the path to kind of finance and kind of figured out what you did want to do, right? You figured out you want to do analytics. Where did real estate come into play there? Did you pick up the purple and gold book like most other people, or how'd you get introduced to that? I know you mentioned before, like, hey, I did some work with my uncles, learn how to build houses and stuff, but where did that all come full circle, and how'd you start on that path?
Yeah. So let's go to 2010. I came back from Arizona. I was making a little bit of money, and man, I just had this weird moment in my life where I made a big mistake, lost my job. I looked at my life. I was like, dude, this is where it really changed. Cause I had been like the average person in America who's living paycheck to paycheck. And I've been doing that. And it's like, I'm 28 now, right? It's getting a little old. But it seems like there's a lot of people doing that. So if you're in that life and everybody else is living week to week, it just seems normal. And this is why that's a testament to why it's so important to have social circles that drive you. But I'm broke. I have no skills. And so I'm like, I got to fix this money problem. The first thing, I have none. So the first thing I thought of is, I was like, if I want to make money. I need to understand money. I don't know anything about it. All I think I know is what my parents told me, which is save money, go to school, get a good job, save some money, buy a house, right? That's the advice that they gave me. I'm here to tell you that that's bad advice. That's really bad advice. It was good for them. It's not good for this generation and at all whatsoever. So I'm like, I don't have backup rules for success. I don't know what else. I don't have any other advice in terms of money, like how to fix this problem. So I was like, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go back to school and I'm gonna get a finance degree and I'm gonna learn money. And then I was like, maybe I'll go work at a bank because they have all the money. They know how the money really works. That in retrospect was not as smart as I thought. You'd be surprised at people that work at banks that have no idea how money works. They're all broke. But at the time was like, look, if I learn about this, then I'll understand it. If I understand it, then I can manipulate it. And that actually, in the long run, that worked out. Like going to school and learning finance, I was like, okay, now I kind of know how I can read a financial statement. I understand how the time value of money works. I understand how these things are going to happen. And around somewhere on there, I started putting some money together finally in my life. And I think I had like 10 grand or 15 grand to my name. And then I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with this? Because I want to invest this, but I don't want to invest in the stock market because I want to quit my job. I need cash flow. I don't need equities where it's just a gain in value and then I have to sell it. I need money coming in so I can tell this boss to go pound sand. And so I started looking on the internet and it's basically like, how can I get cash flow every month? Easy. And I don't want to start a business because to me, it was like, I had read Rich Dad Poor Dad like 5 years prior. So it was a seed. It wasn't like some people read it and they have an epiphany. I had like a little seed. I'm like, I know passive income is the way. Right. So I was like, okay, I need something that's passive. I don't want to go to work every day and start a business. I didn't have a service to sell. I didn't have a product to sell. I didn't want employees, but I need cash flow. And also, I don't have that much money. And I want something reliable. What I don't want to do is do like a trend where it's like, oh yeah, do a website or, do a click funnel where it's like, next thing you know, in 5 years, this is obsolete. Bitcoin right now, I don't know what Bitcoin's going to be. Maybe it'll be around, maybe it won't. So I'm like, I don't want a trend. So what's cash flow? What lets you use no employees, no sales, no brick and mortar store, tried and true, real estate. I Googled real estate. It's like 2014. It's like, oh, by the way, there's a foreclosure boom going on right now. There's 1 million underpriced houses. You can buy one. You can put debt on it. You can get a couple $100 a month cash flow. And if you do it right, Burr method, which I figured out, you can do it without actually spending any of your own money. You can get all your money back. And so I was like, okay, is this real? Can this really happen? Bought a house for $54,500. We moved in right away. I put about 3 or 4 grand of I put floors in myself, did a little sweat equity because I had some of that knowledge. 18 months later, I go and refinance it. They tell me it's worth 115. And again, from a guy, you just heard my story, right? I've been broke this whole time. And next thing you know, it's like I put 10 grand together and in a year I make 80 with it. And I was like, real estate is easy. I'm going to become rich. This is amazing. And so I just started trying to scoop up as many properties as I could. Now, look, I was a very risk averse investor. So it was actually another 2 years before I buy another one because I needed to make sure I had all the cash to buy it. And then I ended up buying 2 or 3 a year for a couple of years. I went pretty slow compared to some people that buy freaking 10 their first year nowadays. But that's how it started. I needed some cash flow and real estate was a booming.
Yeah, I loved how you broke down just the I guess concept or the pieces of real estate. Is like, I don't really need that much money. Let's be honest. I mean, I'm not going to have to worry about any employees. It's tried and true. I don't really have to have a crazy amount of subject matter expert knowledge in real estate, right? It's kind of one of those things. I mean, it's a way the average person can easily build wealth. I mean, bottom line, that's what it is, dude. And I love it. I love it. I mean, I love that example because it's very, very similar to mine. Trying to figure out, all right, what am I going to do here, man? I need some kind of cash flow to be coming in to supplement my other income and figure out this thing for when I want to retire early, right? And it seems like you're on the kind of pretty much the same path. So that's just awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And sorry, Mike.
No. I was just going to say it's a nice progression. It's important that we always highlight this because, again, to Dan's point, so many, and to yours, people go in and they say, man, I gotta buy 10 in 1 year. I have to buy 17 in the next 2 years. And you just gave a perfect example where you had your first one, you cut your teeth on that. Then slowly 2 years later, you acquired another, and then it was 2 or 3 a year. Now it's time for apartments, right? It's a progression that people have to respect the time and effort that people are putting into this at their own pace to learn the systems, to feel comfortable and then scale.
Yeah, I think I look at my story and I'm like, I went slow and I'm okay with it. And for me, it lets me sleep at night. I don't have, all my properties are pretty low LTV compared to some other people, especially now with the market going up. All the houses in Fayetteville, like all the houses that I own for 60 grand are now worth 150. And at the time they were good deals, but it's interesting. Like, go slow and steady. I'm not the guy who's going to tell you to go out there and hustle. I'm like, just go worry about the next deal. Don't worry about doing a million. I mean, that's just my advice. Don't worry. You don't have to worry about doing a million properties. At least not out of the gate. It's like, just go get one. See if you like it. You might hate it. You might be like, oh, that's easier than I thought. I can do more. And that's how it was for me. So don't, people get hung up on like, they put the deals on the pedestal. They start looking for unicorns and they get analysis paralysis. And then they make this big deal about it. I'm like, just go get one. Just go get one and worry about one, and then find out how you can do the next one better. And it'll be fine. Just go slow and steady.
It'll be fine. I love it.
With the apartment buildings now, people are like, how many are you trying to get to 1,000 units this year? And I'm like, no, I'm trying to buy one property a year.
Yeah. I think that's important that it took you that journey to actually understand. Now let me ask you this. In the beginning, you said that you felt like you were moving slow relative to others. Now you feel very confident just getting the next one. Has your mindset changed from then to where you are now about how you view real estate and the value in it?
Yeah. A lot of it's social circle. When you start, you're like, I'm looking for people to do real estate. Now my life is 99% real estate investors. So that changes it changes your reality. And, it's a weird thing now. Now I've kind of put myself in an unhealthy spot, dead serious, because my social media feeds and my social groups are full of people. I have like 7 friends that are in GoBundance, right? That means they have a minimum net worth of $1 million, right? I don't have a net worth of $1 million yet. So I'm like, dude, all my friends, I'm the least successful one. And this is useful. It's very useful, but it's also, it goes from like, hey, I need to get out of this social group and go find people who are ambitious, to now it's like, hey, Alex, you are the dragging anchor in your social group. You need to tighten up. So that changes the way you look at opportunity, because people who are not grabbing opportunity, they don't see it. They're not looking for it. So then when you're hanging out with them, you guys don't talk about it. You don't think about it. You don't see it. When you're hanging out with people that really grasp and take opportunity, then you see it everywhere. And you're like, how come I'm just missing stuff left and right? So I hope that answers the question. When you're like, do I look at real estate differently now? And I'm like, yeah, I used to look at it as this big, scary thing. Now I look at, that $3 million building and I'm like, yeah, it's okay. We got to get a bigger one. The problems of real estate weren't like, hey, can I do it? Now it's like, well, I know I can do it. The thing is, can I find a really good deal that fits for me and my investors? What's it going to look like in 5 years? How does it pay out? It's just the questions go from like, can I, to like, how can I make sure I do a really, really good job of it? I know I can do it. It's how do I have different responsibilities rather than just, can I?
Yeah, it's crazy. I was talking about this with someone the other day about just, getting in certain social circles, right? Building your network, right? And how that can elevate your game so much, right? Clearly, you are a co-host on the Military Cashflow, or the co-host on the Military to Millionaire.
You had me over Mike. You wish.
Military to Millionaire with Dave Perret. You're a co-host there, and we love Dave, man. He's been on the show before, a couple times actually. And you're talking about who else you're associating with. Clearly, you got the 5 Pillars logo back there, so I know you got a bomb circle just with that network as well. So let's talk about just looking big picture, right? You got out of the Army in E4. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of people would think that, man, it's going to be hard for you to make a living, or hard for you to do something else when you get out with at that rank, essentially, right? get out an E4, you're doing cars, you're trying to mess around and figure out what you want to do. But then slowly over time, you start to build and you start to insert yourself or make friends with a certain social circle. How are you doing that? Like, I guess, what are the steps that you would give to someone else that is getting out, or that's kind of doing the same thing, that's trying to do the same thing, as far as getting in the right social circle? I hope that made sense. It was kind of a long, drawn out question, but
how to network.
Yeah.
How to network with intentionality. Actually, this is kind of my superpower, networking. I've actually made a lot of content about networking. I think if you're an introvert, it would be different than if you're an extrovert. Let's start with that. The internet is the great equalizer for networking, because everybody that you want or need to know is on the internet, right? You can tweet to Elon Musk if you want to network with him. Like, everybody's available. So the question now becomes like, not how do you get access, it's how do you get their attention, right? Meaning, like me and Josh Dorkin are buddies now. We chat on Facebook, and it's one of those things where it was just, I have access to the guy, so I can text him and ask him some stuff. So what I would say is, if you're looking to network, the way I would advise it is go find the people whose social circle you want to be in, and then make a deliberate effort to incorporate them into your social group. And then make sure that when you're communicating with them, you add value to them first. Serve first. Always serve first. And so I guess, again, to summarize, like, if you want to go buy single family homes in your area, Google, find on the internet people who are single family investors in your area, and then either go to where they're going to be in physical locations, meetups, or these people you can just email, and a lot of them have ways you can do Calendly apps and Zoom chat with them, or they'll give you time. People are available. So the strategy really is how do you just go access them, which really has never been easier. So I think, creating your social circles is just something that takes a little bit of deliberation. People think like, I got to get these good social circles. Like, how do I do it? And I'm like, it's a good question, but it's way easier than it seems. Because it's like, if I want to be friends with Mike Glaspie, I just have to email him. This is what I would do. I would email him every day until first he'd be like, go away. And then he'd be like, oh, he's not going away. I might as well be friends with him. That's my strategy. Now that doesn't work. That doesn't work for everybody, but that's my strategy. But the point is similar, right? If you want to be friends with somebody, find a way to add value to their life every week. And eventually they're going to be like, I want to have this guy in my life. I want to have this person in my life. And once you're friends with somebody, that's how networking really works. It's not about having somebody's number that you can call and ask a question with every once in a while. That's not really where you get the value. The value of, being buddies with Mike Glaspie is I can text him anytime and be like, hey, this casual thing. Hey, can you help me with this? Hey, what about this? And then you end up bouncing ideas off of each other, and then you grow together. And that's when you're like, oh, now we, went to Mexico together. Now we do these podcasts together. And I wanted to become friends with Matt Faircloth. Matt Faircloth is a pretty big now real estate multifamily buyer. He bought a 200 unit here in Fayetteville. I call him. I have no idea who this guy is. I text him, or I get on the internet or something. I was like, hey, dude, I sent a message on Bigger Pockets. Cause again, we have access. And I was like, you bought a house in my town and you didn't tell me. This is not cool. Right? You got to answer for this. And I was just joking, but now like you start open that thing of communication, and then you see him at BPCon, and then he's doing another deal up the street. And I was like, hey, can I come there? And I have a camera. I'm a camera guy. So can I add some value to you? I'll take some pictures of your property. Let me add some value to you. And then next thing you know, it's like, dude, I hang out with that guy every 3-4 weeks now. Now we're real actual friends. So social circles are very easy to curate these days. I know I'm rambling. Social circles are very easy to curate these days. It's just a matter of like finding out who you need to be friends with, and then making a deliberate effort to bring them in. You have access to everybody.
No, go ahead, Mike.
All I was going to say is, that conversation right there was great, but I don't think it does the justice to Alex's ability to network. Guys, he is actually phenomenal. To rewind the track a little bit, when Alex was a guest on Bigger Pockets, he had mentioned doing the Burr strategy in Fayetteville. And to be quite honest, what year was that, Alex? Do you remember?
18,
was that 2018? See, it was 2018. And when that happened, Fayetteville blew up, right? Now, it's not so much, it's because one, Bigger Pockets is a huge platform. Yes, they heard it. They're like, oh, let's find out. But now listen, guys, he was the guy, don't worry about it, my camera's still here. He was the guy that mentioned it. And so now all of a sudden, you got Shelby in Fayetteville and everything else. Oh, boom. Hey, I just heard Alex. Great. Now that's that network. Then they can connect this way. Then Alex introduces a guy we got to get on this podcast. His name is Joe Prilliman, right? He's out there introducing to Shelby. That was Shelby's first Burr client. Boom. That rolled over to now Alex is doing videos for Bigger Pockets to add value to Bigger Pockets. You see what I'm saying, guys? And so there was so much value jam-packed in that 30 seconds or whatever it was that he was talking. But I encourage all of you guys to rewind it and really listen to that. You cannot network without adding value. People don't give a shit about what you do unless they can see the value in it for them. It sounds messed up, but it's true. And then once you kind of break that barrier, you got to be friends. Because as you get older, your friend circle gets smaller. You just don't have the time, the energy to really entertain everybody, regardless how nice they are. So you got to be their friends if you want to be in those circles. So I think there's a lot of value. Really wanted to unpack that a little bit deeper.
That's one I wanted to touch on specifically. I noticed, I've noticed some of the things that you've done. Again, we've never really actually no crap talk before, but I've noticed some of the things, especially being doing the Fayetteville, it seemed like Fayetteville Bigger Pockets video shoots for a few Fayetteville investors. And it seems like that kind of helped establish you as a player in the market, just like Mike said. And that's easy value that you created. I mean, for those of you who don't know, right before we were recording, he was giving us crap about our backgrounds and the video stuff, and how how we can be better with our backgrounds, right? And that's just, it seems like, that is something that you enjoy, right? So you're taking that and then you're helping spread that information out and adding value to others, right? I think that's super, super, super important.
Yeah, I think I lucked into this, but what I realized along the way is, I have two hobbies. I have real estate hobby and I have my camera hobby, and I use them to fuel each other. And so I think, everybody has more than one interest, right? Not everybody's, I'm sure there's some people that live and breathe real estate and have nothing else. But if you have something else that you're good at in life, like Mike golfs now, right? And so what does he do? He goes and gets his real estate buddies and he golfs with them. And that's what that is it's overlapping of strengths. And so I take my camera and, I go to conferences. I go to, I put people on YouTube. My narcissist friend Shelby, I just, her Instagram feed is basically just my camera. But this adds value to her. And then it comes back to me. And so networking is again, for me, I say it's a serve first mentality. I kind of disagree with what Mike said about people don't care until they know what's in it for them. I get that, because what happens is when you get big, there's probably the people that reach out to you guys every day and can you mention me? Can you mention me? Can you mention me? And when you get in a position, for them, that's just the first time they ask. But for you, you're I get it 5 times a day where somebody asks what they can get out of me. And so if somebody's new and they're looking for a mentor or something, and you can realize that the person you want to mentor you gets asked for them to give something away every day. And you can just come to them and say, what can I give you selflessly, really, truly selflessly? Not hey, I'll give you. But if you can give something up selflessly and you can serve first, it just makes your networking a lot easier, because I don't know, just it puts the dynamic on hey, look, I'm going to add value to you whether you like it or not. And then, yeah.
Dude, you're 100% right, man. And we've echoed that several times on different episodes the same way. How can you add value to someone else? And when you're trying to meet up with someone, the way to not go, just like you said, man. There's a couple ways to go about it, but probably the best way to not do it is just to text you and hey, how can you help me? I'm looking for this. I'm looking for that. I'm trying to do this. How can you help me? You do this for me. You do this for me. You do this for me. And it becomes a broken record to the person on the other end. And obviously, and also outside of just the numerous people asking for help, we don't have the time. You said it yourself, man. And everyone knows it. Time is our most valuable asset. So if you want me to dedicate an hour of my life to you, it's just not really feasible if I have so many other things going on, right? And it's not to be an a-hole or nothing like that. It's just that's just what it is, right? So how can you take some of the skill sets that you have? It doesn't even have to necessarily be a skill set. It could be just something taken off of my plate to help make my life a little bit easier. And at the same time, that way we can basically have a mutual working or a mutual friendship, right? Where it's not a give and take, or it is a give and take versus a give.
Yeah. And people think that they don't have value to give. They're like, well, what can I possibly do for Dan? And I'm like, the way you can frame the question is maybe like, hey, Dan, what's getting in your way these days? Do you have any annoying tasks that you want to give up? You want to help producing the podcast? You want help marketing the podcast? Can I help you find guests? Can I help you go find deals? Can I help you raise money? These are all things that my guess is, I don't know you, but my guess is these are all things you're like in your head. You're like, oh, that sounds good. Yeah, I would like some help on that. So, right. I mean, podcast production is an immense amount of work. Finding deals, raising money, all sorts of things. So people go, I don't have any value to give. It's like, you don't know what value they need. So the correct question is like, what do you need? What's pissing you off right now? And so, and this actually is a good filter, because people come to me all the time, like, what do you need help with? And I'm like, what I really need is I want to do podcast production, but I can't afford to outsource the production. Can you do that? And they'll be like, yeah. And then I'll send them some stuff and then they won't do the work. And I'm like, see, this is a good filter, because now you went away. You're not going to ask me for any more. Right. So, going to people, if you really want somebody's help, it's like, I know you want somebody's help, but are you willing to help them first? So then go to Dan and say, Mike, hey, what value, what's pissing you off? What's getting in your way? Do you have any annoying tasks that you're doing that I can just show you that I'm the real deal, show you that I'm valuable? Let me take that off your plate. And that way, even if you don't have a skill set like a camera or something else, they still have stuff you can do. And if you've proved to them like, hey, look, that guy took that little problem of mine and he fixed it and he ran with it and it made my life easier, maybe he can do something else for me. And then you establish yourself as invaluable, right? Shelby can't go get another photographer now, right? She's screwed. She's stuck with me now, right? And that's because I've done it so much, right? I've done it so much, and it's like, and many others, right? I'm going to start doing, the event photography at BP. Like I went there with my camera and I took pictures, just did my thing. They hired a photographer and I went there with my camera anyways. And I just did I just did my thing. And at the end of the day, they're like, okay, we paid her a couple of $1,000s and her pictures were terrible. We paid you nothing and your pictures were amazing. You're hired forever. And that's because I added value first. That's it.
Hey, man. That is gold. Everything we just talked about the last 10 minutes, man, that's excellent gold. You want to try to get in the right circles. I mean, that's the way to go about it, dude. Alex just laid out the blueprint, dude. That's what it is, man. That's exactly what we're needing to do. I think that is also included in one of those soft skills that we kind of need to do better with in the military as well. Because the same thing, I mean, building your network doesn't just mean buying real estate. You can build a network within the military as well, possibly getting where you want to, getting stationed where you want to, or whatever specific job title you want to do, or whatever the case of school or something like that. I mean, those networks come in handy. That goes in any aspect of life.
I think networking and sales go hand in hand for me. That's where I learned how to network, is from sales, because what I learned was I can go up to a stranger and I can build rapid rapport. And that's really that's networking, and that's sales, where I can go to a person and, that I've never met and say, hey, I'm Alex, I know you don't want to buy a car from me because you're just looking. I know you're here just looking, but also let me show you this one, and you teach you how to overcome objections. And it teaches you how to get that comfort with somebody right away. And it teaches you how to put some charm on them. And then also sales isn't just shoving something down somebody's throat, right? Sales is problem solving. That's what it is, right? You have a problem. I have a solution. I'm going to show you why my solution is the right fix for your problem. And so that's networking too. This is exactly what we just talked about. It's like, Dan, you got some problems in your business. I'm here to solve them. That's exactly how this relationship goes.
I immediately trust you because of the hair, man. I immediately trust you because of the hair, dude.
Look, we're gonna grow yours out. Get a blow dryer. I got you.
Gotta get an S curl or something,
Yeah. That's exactly right. You hit the nail on the head. Sales and networking is a hand in hand because it's just the exchange of value. That's what it is. It's what value do I have to give you for the value that I want to return. And people try to complicate it with. Now, with everything, there's always skills, sub skills, other skills that develop those skills. And yes, you can spend a lot of money and spend a lot of time trying to perfect them all, but just literally rewind this and listen to what Alex said and then go out there and do it. You're 10 times better off than you were, this morning when you woke up before you listened to this podcast. I love it. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, go for it.
In the past, I would have said extroverts have an immense benefit in terms of networking because they're just, I'm energized by people. I'm a hyper extrovert. So for me, I can go to a conference for 4 days and talk to people from 8 a.m. to freaking 11 p.m. and I'm fine, right? Not everybody can do that. And so I used to say introverts are at a little bit of a disadvantage when it comes to networking, but the internet changed that because the internet, you can get one-on-one time with anybody. And you can do it from the comfort of your own home thanks to Zoom. And so many people, have Calendly links on their websites, or they'll give you one that'll be like, hey, look, I'll schedule a 30-minute call with you. I'll just give you some of my time. I do it. A lot of other people do it. So, even the introverts now, it's like, dude, you're 2 emails away from talking to somebody that could change your life. You just got to be able to get in front of them. So it's just a process now.
I love it. And so what's the next step for you along this journey? Now that you've experienced some single families, you experienced some fix and flips, you experienced some syndications, where do you see yourself going next in the realm of real estate? I've
been flipping houses as a kind of a day job I just didn't want to work for anybody else anymore. So I was like, I'll flip a couple of houses and I'm not making a big business out of it, but it's keeping me alive. And that's been going, and I'm learning, I'm getting better. That's going well. I'm converting all my single family homes to Airbnb. I just did my first one and oh my God, that's lucrative. Like tell us some of the numbers while we're on it. Tell us some of the numbers. For that. I had a property that first property I told you about, I converted that one to Airbnb. So I think my mortgage on it is like, it's under 50 grand. It was making $1,000 a month gross, which means, I know people like to say, rent minus mortgage, but if you take rent minus mortgage, minus property management, minus maintenance, right? It's like $200 a month, right? That's what it really is. I mean, maybe on a good year, it's a little more than that. In a bad year, it'll be a little less than that. And so it's averages $200 a month. Well, I took that property and I converted it to Airbnb. My first month, I went from $1,000 a month gross rents to $3,300. And after their fees, which are astronomical, I think they ripped me off. I'm still going to bring home a little over $2,000, which means I made a 10x return on net for investing. I invested about another 20,000 because I had to repaint it and furnish it. So I probably invested 20,000, maybe 18, a little under that. Right. So for $18,000, now I make 10x net, bro. I'm converting all of them.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the things. That's one of the things that, that's like where you mentioned earlier, that's kind of like luck and timing. All of us got into the journey roughly about the same time where we thought long-term rental, that was the only play. And then all of a sudden Airbnb really starts to blow up. The timing hits where now it's extremely popular. We experiment with it because we already own the property. Boom, 10x return, right? So I just think it's a great thing. I love my Airbnbs as well. But just understand, you weren't thinking about Airbnbs back in 2014. That wasn't in your. It
wasn't a thing yet.
Pipeline, yeah. So it just happens. But
this is such a good point about the market changes, and this is actually a frustrating point for me because I kind of want to I want to get my real estate thing set, and then I want to go do camera stuff. I want to go something else, but I'm not. The thing is, I'm not big enough where I can just set it and forget it. I still have to grow some more. So if you're going to continue to grow, you have to understand that you're growing in an environment that changes. Right? When I first started, right, there's probably 15 foreclosures on the market at any given time that you could pay 30 grand for. If I had that now with the resource I have now, I buy them all. I buy every single one of them. But back then, people weren't as confident and they didn't have the capital liquidity wasn't available, right? Now people have capital and they have liquidity, but the deals aren't there. So the market changes. Multifamily, I really want to buy more multifamily, but a C-class property is selling for a 6 cap. Or less. Mm-hmm. And it's like, do you really want to buy in this environment? Especially when I know rates are going to start coming up. When you go to reach, commercial properties, as you're going to refinance in 5 years. You're going to refinance in 5 years and the rates are going to be higher. That means you're going to make less. That's going to be a tough shake. So you're investing in a changing market. And so I really wanted to buy more multifamily and I still do, but it's harder now. It's harder now. So that's why I was like, Airbnb is a good. It's kind of like I'm half stalling where I'm like, let me wait till next year and these rates change and I see what the layout's going to look like. But also I don't want to wait a year. So I have to, this is a business of adaptation. You really have to be able to adapt and see opportunities and move on them. And then you have to be able to say, I'm going to bail when it's not working as well anymore, which is the hardest part, actually.
I mean, you bring up an excellent point, right? It's an ever-changing environment, right? But that's where we do our due diligence on the front end, right? To analyze how many different strategies that we can use with any property, right? And it seems like, I mean, you said, let's take your first deal, for example. You've already ran it as just a traditional buy and hold, like a long-term hold, right? Long-term rental. It's going to cash flow at least $200. Rents are raising. So over the next couple of years, it'll likely increase more than that. But right now, the Airbnb short-term rentals is a hotness. And you already mentioned it, there's a bunch of fees and things like that. One day there could be a county ordinance or a city ordinance that either changes it, cuts it out, right? Or, Airbnb might just make it change their rule. And for some reason, you basically are not making that much money at all on it. You always, because you've analyzed the deal and you've done your due diligence, you can always convert it back to a regular rental, and you're still making your money on it. The worst case scenario for you, right, is that you have a long-term hold and you're making a couple $100, $200, $300, $400 a month on it versus, $2,000, but it still works, right? So I think that's the importance of really, really doing the due diligence on the front end, especially in today's market. I mean, you're talking about 6 caps on C class properties. I mean, that's, you usually see 6 caps on like B plus A properties, right? C property, you're thinking like 10 plus, right? But if you can do your due diligence on the front end and make sure that it cash flows, even in, the what we expect to happen is a market correction, right? If it can still cash flow in a market correction, you run your numbers that way, then you pretty much found yourself a good deal. And there's really not too many ways, or you mitigated your failure rate, if that makes sense. So I think that's a great point. You
mitigate that risk. You control that fear, like you were talking about earlier. I love it, man.
Yep. Buy good deal. You make money when you buy. Buy a discounted property. People are buying full priced homes, retail priced homes, and they're putting them on Airbnb and they're making a little bit of money. And I'm like you said, Dan, it's like, you know what? I think Airbnb personally, I mean, it's too lucrative. People are going to run to it in droves. The market's going to become saturated, and then people are going to start competing on price, and the margins are going to come down. That's what I expect to happen. So yeah, I don't know how long this run's going to go. And I worry about the people who paid twice as much as I did. The people that, I own that house for less than 60 grand. Some people own that same house for 120, plus furnishing. And they're like, well, I'm making money. And I'm like, but if you have to rent that thing for $1,000 a month, you won't make money. So you make money when you buy. The second one is risk mitigation is cash, right? Because you don't have to really, become rich from this for it to work. You can just break even for 30 years and then the thing gets paid off. And then you're definitely making money. So if you want that plan, like that's the worst case scenario plan, because you obviously want to make money along the way. But if you want that plan to work, you can't, if you're breaking even or, God forbid, slightly below, or just above and something happens, you have to have cash reserves. You have to have cash. You have to have cash sitting around. So you make money when you buy and have a big chunk of cash to weather any storms. Other than that, like it's just it's going to make money.
I love that. I love the fact that you mentioned, you don't even have to make money. Sit your ass down for 30 years. Guaranteed you'll be making money then, because you'll have all that equity in that cash flow. And it is a waiting game. The real estate is a game of patience. You do have opportunities like fix and flips and some other things where you can accumulate cash fairly quickly. But even that isn't 24 hours, right? That's still a couple of months. It's a game of patience. Yeah. It takes some time because it ain't a couple months nowadays. Contractors is annoying.
Yeah. Anybody who does, you can put back 3 months these days. And I'm like, oh, you haven't done it yet. I got you.
Yeah. I love it, man. All right. So as we start to wrap up this episode here, a lot of people are coming in and they're hearing a lot of value that you're adding. Now, if you had to give one piece of advice, and we're just going to say to a real estate investor starting their journey, what would that one piece of advice be?
For a real estate investor just starting their journey, your success will be dictated by who you spend time around. That's it.
I love it.
Yeah. If you can hang out with people, I have a big ego and it is getting crushed lately because everybody I know is killing it. And I'm having I'm the smallest fish in my pond. And that is painful. It is painful, but it is going to work.
I feel you, bro.
Yeah. Hey, look, it is not a fun game. Honestly, it is really not a fun game. Like, I am not having that much fun in life right now because I'm like, everybody I know is like, oh, just close, freaking, I'm looking at Brandon closing 500 units. Jerk, right? Or even my buddy, Jeremy, right? He's closing, I don't know, probably 500-600 units this year. It sucks. It's like I'm watching them go, screen past me, but then every day I call, every couple weeks I call them like, what can I do to help? What can I add value? So it's just, if you hang out with these people, eventually they're going to drag you along. That's why I hang out with Mike. I'm just riding coattails, but it works. It works. I come there, I add the value I can. So yeah, who you hang out with will dictate your success. If you hang out with people that you're the best of, it's like, you have nobody to compete. You have nobody to make you feel, you have nobody to hold you accountable.
That's right.
So who you hang out with is the number one. If I had to give one piece of advice, that's the one. Who you hang out with.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that, dude. I also think that with that, right, who you hang out with, I think it makes you comfortable in certain situations, like you're talking about. I mean, all these people that are doing large number of deals, you kind of get used to that, right? So you kind of expect that, just like you said it earlier. Yeah, I closed on a $3 million deal. That it's just a casual conversation to the average person. It's like, what the hell? You know what I mean? What do you mean you close on? We talk to people that are doing great things pretty much on almost every single podcast that are doing much better than at least me. And then I got my business partner over here. Mike, who's doing hotels and stuff. So it becomes a custom. Even if you haven't done it and you haven't executed it yet, it becomes so accustomed that when it does happen, it's not that big of a deal, right? And I love how you phrase that. I love exactly how you phrase that.
Yeah, there's two other examples that work really, like drugs. You don't hang out with drug addicts. But if you hang out with drug addicts, guess what? Doing drugs is going to seem really normal. It's not going to seem like that big a deal. And so that's the same exact process. I hung out with all these people, and then that became my normal. And so, if going to the alley and shooting up is your normal, and that's who people you hang out with calls that normal, it's going to be hard to get out of that. It's going to be hard to do something abnormal. So if I hang out with, and the gym, so the other one is the gym. Like, I go to the gym, I do powerlifting. I love it. You want to deadlift 500 pounds? Go hang out with people, watch them do it every day. And you're going to be like, oh, it's the regular guys can do this. It's just a matter of hanging out with them long enough till I'm that guy and doing a 500-pound deadlift. You want to buy $3 million buildings? It's like, hang out with, like you said, Dan, just hang out with people where it's normal. It doesn't seem scary. It just seems casual conversation. And then it will be casual conversation for you too.
And that statement where Jim Rohn says you are the sum of the 5 people that you most associate with, that's exactly what we're talking about here. But I love how you kind of phrased it, because it just allows people to see it from a different perspective or from a different light. If you're shooting up drugs, whatever the case is, and everybody else around you, that's your normal. Therefore, we can all understand, how difficult it can be. Oh shit, if you got COVID, no, I'm playing. No. You can understand how difficult it can be for those individuals to feel like they're trapped in that environment and they can't get out, because that's now their normal. So now, based on this conversation, for everybody listening, make that your environment, right? Make that your normal, to be around whoever it is that you desire to be like, right? Go out and find those people. I love that, man. So now you're dropping all these nuggets of wisdom and knowledge bombs, man. And everybody's like, yo, I want to talk to Alex. I want to network with Alex. So how can they find you, man?
My current focus is YouTube. I'm trying to become a famous YouTube celebrity. I need you to help me with that. Go subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's just my name, Alexander Felice. I talk about all sorts of stuff, real estate. I do some vlogging with other people. Shelby and Mike were on my last vlog, and then I talk about I'm a lover of obscure history and philosophy, and so I do a little bit of I tie that into real estate. So I do a lot of that, and then you can also, if you want to find out my deals and like how I do my deals, I write them all in very specific transparency and authenticity on a website called brokeIsachoice.com. And you can find all that stuff. I don't sell any courses or anything. So everything I've learned, I put on the internet to help the next person for free.
I love it, man.
Broke is a Choice and Alexander Felice. YouTube.com/Alexander Felice, right? And he's got a dope setup, right? So
yeah. I taught Mike. Look, Mike's YouTube is looking good.
Yeah, this
he
is
did
all
that for
because
you?
of him.
Oh,
Well, he
man.
basically, me and him talked about it through all the time, and he would give me shit. He was like, okay, that's trash. You need to do this. And so I would kind of do this, fix it up. But this is thanks to Alex. So, and that
Excellent,
what
man.
Alex is behind now, that's Shelby's. So don't think that's his. Like his is much better than that.
Yeah, I'm not Shelby, but we're working on Shelby's. We're getting there. She's starting to see how important it is. She's like, oh, it's my sign. I'm good. I'm like, no, we have to do better. She's like, how come I'm good? I'm like, because he cares.
Yeah,
Too easy, man.
That's awesome, man. So definitely, hey, if you're listening to this, make sure you look up Alex Felice. Hey, I really appreciate you coming on today, man. You dropped some just straight bombs, dude. Like, if you didn't get something out of this episode, then you need to either rewind it again or just give up, dude. So I don't know.
Well, look,
I don't know what to tell you.
I'm very, very, very grateful for you guys having me here and being thankful for the opportunity. Very grateful,
man, for sure. For sure. Hey, if you're watching this on YouTube, right, and you didn't know, we have a podcast. And if you're listening to this on podcast, if you didn't know, we have a YouTube as well as Alex Felice has a YouTube. So make sure you look us both up, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, leave us a comment below. We'll be sure to get back with you. If you're listening to this on podcast, leave us a review. We really appreciate that. Other than that, man, appreciate you coming on. Anything else? You got any last words?
Well, I see a BPCon.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know when BPCon is. It's kind of tough. I'm the only person that's still active duty, and right now with the whole, you know what's going on right now with the COVID and stuff, trying to restrict travel and all these other crazy things that are happening. So we'll see. I guess that's the only thing I could say. But I
see.
Yeah.
No, I'm good. I'm grateful to hang out with you guys. It was fun. I hope I could add some value. And if I can, Dan, if I can help you get that setup, that backdrop set up a little better, lights, I'll help you. Let me know.
Yeah, definitely. This operates as a spare bedroom. I don't know if you can see that behind us there, but this is also good. Our spare bedroom / office area. But if I can add some little depth, maybe I need to get a little shrubbery like Mike has back there with and put them in different positions so you can't see with the little blur and the lights. I'm gonna work on it, man. You might see a light behind the pillow or something. You can see my little kid's Yoda drawing back there. You know what I mean? So, nice. Maybe we'll figure something out, dude, for sure.
Yeah, I'll help if I can.
Yeah, but hey, this is Dan Wynn
and Mike Glaspie
signing off.